Welcome to the podcast, 38 Weeks to Go. I am your host, Nash, and we have 37 weeks left to go. How was Game Week 1? How are you? I hope the week has begun well. I'd like to start off by talking about the biggest results of the weekend. The biggest result of the weekend was Newcastle's 5-1 victory over Aston Villa. This game saw Isaac, or is it Isaac, score 2 goals and grab all 3 bonus points. Tonali had a great debut, Harvey Barnes as well, and they're looking like great potential for that team. Second highest result was Brighton, with a 4-win won over Luton. It was a well spread out game, and no real standout performer, but for those who had Estupinian, well done. Man City had the third highest result of the weekend, with a 3-0 win over Burnley, newly promoted Burnley. Haaland. He had a great game, and he just showed why he should be captain. Even the Burnley players believed in him. 3 of them had him as their captain. If that's not belief in Haaland, what is? There were 3 clean sheets, starting with Manchester City, and then Fulham versus Everton. Fulham won the game 1-0, and Man United versus Wolves, 1-0 as well. When we're looking at the top performers of Game Week 1, starting from the back, we have Ben Leno from Fulham, who had 12 points. He had an amazing game. He kept out everything. And at number 2, we had Onana. What's my name? Onana. Well, he had 9 points. And if you watch that game, you know that he earned that clean sheet. He really saved them. And number 3 was Crystal Palace's Johnston. He kept a clean sheet, and it was pretty much a straightforward thing. In defense, the 3 highest players are Varane and Wan-Bissaka from Manchester United, with Wan-Bissaka assisting Varane for the header to score the winner. And number 3 was Disasi with 11. Number 2, Wan-Bissaka with 12, and Varane, 14 points. In the midfield, we have Rodrigo with 13, Harvey Barnes with 11, and Saka with 10. And the assist to Saka was beautiful by Martinelli. Was it intentional? I don't know. But it looked good. In attack, Haaland, number 1, with 13 points. Number 2 was Isak with 13 points. And Wissa with 9 points from Brentford. I would say in attack, Isak's performance was the standout performance because it was unexpected. In midfield, I would say Rodri's performance was unexpected. He was the top earner with 13 points. Him and Isaac both saw their prices increase by 0.1. In defense, it was Chilwell who had the performance of the day, and his price has really risen, well, by 0.1. And in in goalkeeping, it's Ben Leno. He had an amazing performance, and he really showed his worth and his class. In Game Week 1, there was some injuries. De Bruyne was forced off very early in the first half. Mings was forced off with an injury, and Martinez was forced off. So if you have these guys, please remove them from your team. They're not going to be there next week for Game Week 2. Reece James was also pulled out, but that was because of fatigue. That's what Pochettino says, at least. In terms of big disappointments and surprises, Gabriel for me was a huge disappointment. He had gone nearly 73 games, starting for Arsenal. And the day Nash puts him in his team is a day Arteta decides to be Pep. And so, for no reason, well, we call it tactical, he didn't play. And that really cost me in the end because he came on for 1 point, which to be fair would have been the same point as Ben White. That's not the problem. The problem was I had this man, Mr. Mbomo, on the bench. Why? I don't even know myself. I don't know. I just didn't make the changes well enough. I had Boom on the bench, ready to come on with his 7 points. But no, Gabriel was there with his 1 point, and Tyron Mings came off the bench with his 0 points. What a disaster. John Stones was also another disappointment. A lot of people had him in their team. Percentage-wise, he was up there. He didn't play. He was a disaster. But speaking of disasters, 4.4% of you have Kane. Harry Kane. Bayern Munich's striker. 2.5 of you have Gabriel Jesus. It was well known that he was injured, so I'm not clear why you would have him. I had said Nkunku was injured as well, but that did not stop people from putting him in their team. And so, yeah, they lost out on those. Random fact, the Caicedo derby, formerly known as Liverpool versus Chelsea, was 1-1. And that is the 7th draw in a row that these two teams have had. Let that sink in. The last 7 games between Chelsea and Liverpool have ended in a draw. If you ask me, Liverpool did a really good job of showing Caicedo why they needed him. They were really weak in the midfield, and they will need to sort that out before the season starts. The highest points of the week were 127. The average points of the week was 64. I gained 61 points, so my team performed just a bit below the average. So I really need to pull up my socks for the next game week. Looking at the game week 1 table of the 38 weeks to go league, top 10 of the 15 members scored above the average. Well done to you all. You were good managers. The league leader is Alexander Mutune with his team. Don't bottle it this year. He garnered 82 points. It's really close at the top. Number 2 and number 3 have 81 points. Number 2 is Bonaji with Hans Gruber. And number 3, or I guess tied for number 2, is Mato FC manager Martin Asewe. For Team Mato, and don't bottle it, it seemed like having the differentials in João Pedro really helped boost their performance this week. For number 2, Hans Gruber, it seems like what really boosted his team was the use of the bench boost. A little early for my liking, but hey, it's not my team. I'll be talking to Alex, and he will be telling us about his team and the thought process that went into crafting his Game Week 1 team. On the other end of the table, we have Peter Dennis with P. Dennis 11 with 40 points. And tied for number 13, you have yours truly with Team BV at 61 and Melvin with Mount Freemasons at 61. We are tied at the bottom, but it's just Game Week 1. No need to panic. The boys are okay. We will be all right. We're just taking it 1 week at a time. And we will get to the final. We will get to the top. We will get to the top. Don't judge us too quickly. Don't write us off. So for my team, I won't lie. After looking at all these teams, I just got pressure to put Gabriel into my team. I had Rhys James. I removed him from my team. And while those two didn't necessarily perform, it was a good lesson to learn in that you should trust your gut and your instincts, because I really fell victim to the wisdom of the crowd and to the pressure of everybody else's choices. There is some wisdom in the crowd, but in this case, it did not serve me well. I just ended up being one of the 2.8 million people who chose John Stones, and he didn't play. And Gabriel really disappointed me. I messed up with my formation. I thought I had it saved in having 3 defenders and 5 midfielders, but somehow I found Bomo was on the bench. And if he was on my team, I would have had an additional 7 points. And that would have taken me, well, just to number 11. But at least I would have been above average, so there's that. Mings got injured, so I've already removed him from my team. I have made another change. After Nketiah scored, I saw, 5.5? Okay, I have one on the bench. So I removed McAtee from Luton. He's not going to play. Or at least I don't think he will play. So I've gotten Nketiah into my team. And now I'm feeling a little bit more confident about my team moving forward to game week 2. How are you guys feeling about your teams? When I look at most teams, I can see that most people agreed that Haaland was a good buy, Saka is a good buy, Estupinian is a good buy, and I can see a lot of people invested in the Manchester United defense. And that was a good call. I saw some people have managed to play the game of having Haaland and Salah in their team. If the form continues, I will have to bring Salah into my team. That assist was really sweet. And Salah is Salah, he hasn't let us down, so well done to you managers for sticking with him. It's just that 12.5, that's painful. He needs to be scoring 2 goals a game, like Haaland. Diaby, Maddison, Harvey Barnes, Tonali, Gordon, all look like they could be interesting signings. And I will be keeping an eye on them for the future. Another injury I forgot to mention was Timber from Arsenal. Unfortunately, he got injured on his debut. We hope he comes back soon, but get him out of your team if you still have him. Today I learned of something called anti-FPL. Basically, it's a team. Wait, let me word this properly. The goal of the anti-FPL team is to choose the biggest underperformers of the week. And I had no idea something like this existed, and I don't know if you guys know. So basically, you're looking for the most wasteful people, the most foul-prone people, the people who make the worst decisions, the people who waste the most chances, the people who are just most likely to let you down. It's a bit disrespectful, if I'm honest, because in many teams you'll find like Jose Sa, who is a Wolves keeper. You'll find Semedo, who is a Wolves defender. You'll find Starling, Coutinho. You had the former Leicester keeper. Ward. Paqueta is on there. And this guy might surprise you. Kai Havertz. This season I wouldn't be surprised if Neil Maupay makes it. And at the top here is Antonio. Can you believe that, Antonio? I swear, I only thought of the Money League as a different way to play fantasy football. But now I'm seeing that there's something else, and I've played this for so many years and I'm only finding out about this today. I can't wait to see what else I'll discover. In the previous podcast, I had discussed the various ways to make a team, and I spoke about the way AI does it. Well, very briefly, I just said AI made a team. And then there's the balanced team, which is the approach that I decided to take, and there's a strong team. This week, one of the lessons I've learned is the disadvantage of having a balanced team is you trust your bench, and therefore you always think that people will be okay. And I got punished. For the longest part of the Arsenal game, it seemed like Gabriel wouldn't play. And at that point, I only had Mings on my bench and Mbeumo to come on. So I already knew that Stones wasn't playing, so I knew that if Mings comes on for Stones, Mbeumo will come on for Gabriel. But then Gabriel came on for like 2 minutes. And then Mings came on for, for Stones. And he came on with a mighty 0. So that didn't add any value to my team. And I got punished. As we look forward to game week 2, it's important to know that Luton and Burnley will not be playing. The match has been postponed. This also means that it is not going to be as easy as game week 1 to pick the walkover matches, or rather, the easier fixtures. The easiest looking fixture is Liverpool versus Bournemouth. But having watched them against Chelsea, I don't know. I'm not too confident that they will hammer them like they did at the opening stage of last season. It's still too early to draw conclusions as to who is strong and who is weak. And the matches seem to be fairly balanced. Of course, Haaland will be my captain. That goes without saying. Even though they play Newcastle, I just can't bet against him. I'm giving myself 1 or 2 more weeks to form some sort of opinion about who these teams are. Game week 1 wasn't enough for me. It was a good start, but not yet. I'm not yet there. I do think that Brighton have a friendlier set of fixtures, but after having watched Man U versus Wolves, Wolves don't look as easy as I thought they would be to beat. Nottingham Forest versus Sheffield will be interesting. I think Nottingham Forest have the edge, so that may be a good candidate for that game. I just don't have anybody from there right now. Fulham versus Brentford, I believe it will be high scoring. Spurs versus Man U could go either way. I'm not sure how the Spurs are looking right now. I'm waiting for them to settle in a bit. Man United didn't look like a team that could inspire me to think that they have figured their things out, so it could be 0-0 or it could be a high-scoring game. It's really hard to tell. With Man City Newcastle, I am not happy that it has come so early. I would have preferred it if they were in stride and on top of their form so that I could see a really high-quality game. I believe that there will be goals in this game. Maybe not as high-scoring as their first encounter last season, but I believe both teams will score. I'm looking to see what Diaby does in this Aston Villa versus Everton game, and depending on what he does, I may just bring him onto my team. I'm really considering him. With West Ham versus Chelsea, I really want to see if Chelsea have improved because the Caicedo derby wasn't an indicator of anything for me. Maybe West Ham will have squeezed in a few signings by then and will look different. Let's see. I mean, Chelsea seem to be still signing people. At this point, we almost need a cap on signings. It's too much. Crystal Palace versus Arsenal could be an interesting game. I'm still hoping that my boy Saka shows up and shines out. And we will be looking for the resurgence of Team BV. Let's go! I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. If you think others would benefit from this, please share this with them. If you'd like others to join our Premier League Fantasy League, share the link. It's on the Instagram page, which you should join as well. Apart from that, let's take it 1 week at a time. We've got 37 weeks to go. Have a great week. Stay safe.